Yes. Okay. Audio's good. I wish I'm actually going to videotape this just so you see how close the mic is and the camera is, just so I can run this new green screen I got going on. All right, there we go, Jackson. That's what it feels like. All right, Jackson, rock and roll, brother.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 331 of Boog Life, Pitted with Action and Manny V. And, it's been a while. Manny's been out and about, traveling the world as usual. Today, we're basically, as long as it's cool with Manny, I basically want to focus on his recent trip to Panama, as well as of course, the Pipeline Pro.
Yes. Yeah, that
Yes.
sounds good. I think we stay on track.
All right. First and foremost, the reason we haven't been doing Boog Life the last week or two, you were in tropical paradise.
Yeah. Yeah, I had two 1 week back-to-back trips for Epic Surf Tours. And I think when I leave, I'm like, okay, we're gonna set it up, we're gonna do it. But once I get there, I'm working. I'm working 24/7. I'm with my groups. I got to be present. And so yeah, we have to postpone. And here we are now, though, ready to catch up and catch up with you too.
Honestly, I'm cool with you focusing on your trips. That's livelihood for you, you know. And I'm more than happy to live vicariously through your Instagram stories.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what I gotta, keep doing to try to get people to come on the trip next year.
So tell us a little bit about what they could expect if they go on an epic surf tour trip to Panama.
I mean, I tell everybody you can do these trips on your own. You can go look for places to stay. You can go look for places to eat. You can hire a photographer. You can hire a local to like take you around. But once you sign into any one of my trips, that's what you're getting. You're getting all of that without worrying about how to go about doing that. The only thing you do have to do is book your flight. Once you arrive to the destination, then I'm right there at the airport picking you up. If it's not me, it's one of my buddies who's a driver. And once you get picked up by myself or one of my friends who live in that area, you don't worry about a thing. I'm taking you to the best spots to surf empty because we do first light sessions. Um, and it's usually us in the water for about an hour to 2 hours by ourselves. I'm documenting it with either photos, drone, or video by way of a GoPro. Or if I'm on land, I'm taking photos and video at the same time. I'm taking to all the best places to eat in that region, and we're hanging out with the locals. Like they're gonna take us to these like locals only spots when it comes to waves, photos. I mean, waves, food, and just a good time. So yeah, it, it's essentially you show up, you don't worry about a thing. You just worry about stuffing your face with good food and riding the empty waves. Everything else is taken care of. And I think people don't understand the value of the photos and videos and the drone footage until after the fact. Um, you can go on these trips, you can find photographers, but you're going to pay almost a third of the price of what the trip is if you get that amount of documentation, footage, photos, all of that. So that's all included. So all the trips, the Cabo Freak Fest for bodyboarders in Cabo, and all the surf trips that I provide too. And I really do want to get bodyboarders down to Baja Deep South because there's so many good bodyboarding waves that are going unridden because I'm taking surfers and they're like, they want surf waves, which is, the point breaks, the soft waves, the waves with channels, but we're driving by so many perfect barreling shore breaks and like little reefs that are barreling, and I'm just driving by going, "Oh my God." Keep
What's that
focused.
Aaron Lloyd used to say? Wasted wave, bro.
Exactly. So yeah, that's pretty much what you get. And Panama was no different. And everybody was stoked. The waves were perfect for the groups. And yeah, it was very fun. Very fun.
Nice. Now, continuing on the stoked theme,
Yeah.
Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, the 2026 Hawaii Pipeline Bodyboarding Championship ran. And I have to say, it was a ton of fun to watch. I was off Sunday, so I got to watch from start to finish all 8 hours. I had to work on Monday. Yesterday, I had to work early, but I was able to get home and watch the end of the day thanks to the time difference.
Yeah.
And, and it wasn't maxing pipe like everybody always wants, talks about, but the waves were super fun, high performance waves because it's pipeline. Even when it's small, you better watch out, especially at backdoor. Trust me, it's on those medium days where you're going to shed blood and lose skin.
Exactly.
So, the barrels were here and there and people were taking advantage of them, but there were some big maneuvers too, some major heat scores. I mean, round one, Jeff Howard dropped a perfect 10 in the men's pro. I mean, he had a 10 and a 9 as his top two scores. He threw away 2 8s.
Yeah, right off the bat.
If it were you and I, 2 8s would get us through the damn heat.
It'd probably be our best scores through the whole contest.
Probably. And then in the junior men's pro, we saw Caleb Powell drop a 10. That kid was ripping. That is, there was a bunch of young men in the pro junior boys rather, that you definitely need to keep an eye out for. Caleb Powell is one of those. And then the biggest 10-point ride came in the women's Open Pro final. I don't know if you got to see that heat or heard what happened. Jessica Becker was dominating that heat from the word go, and it seemed like she was going to walk away with it until Luna Hardman, the two-time Pro Junior Women's champ, and of course, daughter of five-time world champ Neymar Carvalho, dropped a perfect 10 on a huge air roll spin. I mean, she just nailed it. And I mean, I was losing my shit watching it, it was stuff like that. It didn't matter if it was men's, women's, boys, girls, masters. I mean, everybody was taking their shot, and, why wouldn't you? There's only 4 of you out in the water at Pipeline. That never happens. Almost never happens. So for all of the competitors, that alone is worth the price of admission. And now time to get into the event champions. First and foremost, we'll start off with Masters. Rich Cooper took his second Masters win in a row. And I loved the interview. He was so stoked. And that guy is just positive vibes, full on aloha. And I'm going to be throwing the word aloha at you a lot because it was just pure aloha throughout the course of this event. Watching it had me just lamenting the fact, in a good way, I was lamenting the fact that I wasn't there in person, because just the vibe coming through on the broadcast was just unbelievable. And I can only imagine what it was like on the beach and not in the lineup. Next up, we'll do junior women's.
Hold on, Richard. I want to put my 2 cents so far.
Okay.
Yeah, I did watch I didn't see the Luna ARS live, but I went back and watched the highlights and the replay, and it was insane. Definitely, because she got launched. It wasn't just a flop over, and she pulled it off, and she was stoked, and she claimed it, and it was pretty incredible to watch. And I didn't know that was the defining moment to give her the win, but watching it live would have been incredible to watch. I would love to have seen where her mom was and see her reaction when that maneuver was completed.
Oh, I
Because
can
Neymar,
only imagine.
yeah, because Neymar would have known that was what it needed to be done to win. And then, yeah, I reached out to Richard Cooper. I saw a couple highlights, and yeah, he went back to back. And I watched his interview again, like you just said. He was so stoked and super aloha, and and he was freaking yoked out. Like he's so buff, and yeah, it was pretty cool. And I just reached out and said, "Hey, back to back," and he's like, "Yep, super
Yeah,
stoked."
he's a big brother, man. I give props to him. You know, he's not a young buck anymore, but he's still ripped and ripping.
Yeah, yeah, it was good to see. It was pretty. I was pretty stoked. All
All
right,
right.
so yeah,
So next in the junior women's, Hannah Saavedra from Peru. This is going to be something we touch on again, but to see a young Peruvian take excuse me, to take the win in the junior women's, especially considering you had Brazilians, Hawaiians, the talent level for the junior women's is on a whole other level than what it used to be. Which I love seeing. The same can be
yeah,
said for the junior men's, but it's just the bar is being raised. I mean, these girls and boys are doing things that 35 years ago, even pro men and women, grown adults weren't doing. So it's wild to see the progression of our sport. And just talking about it, just thinking about it, gets me so fired up. It's not even funny. I mean, there's moments watching these young riders that it just gives me chicken skin to see what they're pulling off. You know,
yep,
Flip to pocket spin combos. I'm like, are you kidding me? I
yeah.
mean, if I had been there on the mic, I would have been foaming.
Yeah. No, I was right there with you. I did see the majority of that final, and props to the organizers and the promoters, everybody who put the event together, who decided, hey, let's put all the divisions in there, including the junior women's, and they only had seven riders, so they're like, you know what? Let's just send them all out and freaking have them perform. And right off the bat, it was like nonstop. It was pretty exciting to watch.
At least they have priority,
At
as
least they had
opposed to
priority.
back in the 80s when they'd throw six people out in the water. Beach start, no priority.
Exactly. But it was
And
re-
you
it
know
was
what?
good
I'm
to
sure
watch.
there's some people that are going to watch this and be like, what the hell is he talking about? Back in the day, bodyboarding competitions, there was no paddling out with 5 minutes to go, so you had a water start. You started on the beach, so you had to do the fin run to the water and hope that you didn't catch a fin and bust your ass.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, but anyway, next up, the junior men's pro. Again, we touched on Caleb Powell. These guys were killing it. I used to joke around about my time on the USBA national tour and how I got tired of having 18-year-old Hawaiians paddle circles around me out in the water. These guys aren't even 18 yet, and they're slaying it out there.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And this is pipeline. Pipeline, you touched on it earlier. It wasn't your 8 to 10 foot gaping barreling pipeline, but even at 3 to 6 foot, 3 to 5 foot pipe, their power is still there. The reef is still there, and to hit the lip on a 4 to 5 foot pipeline wave takes
Takes a certain
you
level of gusto.
exactly, and yeah, so super stoked that they went for it. It was pretty incredible to watch.
Yeah, I watching these younger ones, I was frothing to the point that I was like, if I had been there, I would have been begging Howley to give up his spot to me and not Blaine Andrews. It's like,
Exactly.
come on, let me out. I want 20 minutes pipeline, just three other guys out. Let me get a couple of waves. I'll be happy for the rest of my damn life.
Exactly.
So, all right. So, and then we already talked about Luna Harmon taking the win in the women's pro. I've been touting this girl since day one.
Yes, you have.
And, I'm not saying that with any bravado or, trying to claim anything. It's just, you know, the talent was evident right from the beginning. And she's already proven it with two pro junior women's world titles. She's now a women's pipeline champion. So she just wrote her name in the history books, and she's just getting going.
Yeah.
If she's anything like her mother, I can't wait to see how many world titles she collects in the women's pro in the upcoming years. So,
Do we know do we know how many who has the most wins in the female uh division?
what
World
at
titles?
pipeline?
Um World titles.
World titles, women, most world titles. It's a tie between Neymar Carvalho and Isabella Souza, 5 world championships.
Oh my God, Luna's just getting started. Holy
Is
shit.
still super young and has all the potential in the world. If she stays healthy, avoids injury, and maintains the path, I'd be willing to say she will surpass her mother.
Easily. Are you saying that she shouldn't have a a relationship or partner or boyfriend or girlfriend? Because that's going to be a distraction.
Well, it depends on what kind of path she wants to follow. I mean, hell, once upon a time back in the 90s, the bodyboarding community used to joke around that once you got married and had kids, that was the death of your career. Thankfully, that was a misgiving because we've seen pro bodyboarders, get married, have families, and then return to prominence.
Yeah.
Neymar is a perfect example. She
Yes.
still kills it out in the water. God forbid you draw her in a heat. You know, Carla Costa, she was looking stout for a while in this year's pipeline contest. You know,
Yep.
she's got 2 kids. You know, so getting married and having kids, if you're driven, determined, and you want to make it happen, you'll factor it all in and make it happen. So
Yep.
regardless of the personal life that Luna Harmon chooses moving forward, I think she's dedicated, motivated enough to follow in her mother's path. And I'm pretty certain that she's got full support from Neymar.
I believe that 100%. I mean, she when Neymar actually got onto the mic for a heat or two, Luna was in a heat, and wow, I've never heard Neymar
She
was,
was she was emotional,
yes, the entire heat.
and I loved it because that's real. You
Yeah.
know, for me, bodyboarding is about the love, the stoke, the passion, and that should come out, whether you're a parent or just, a random commentator, that kind of passion should be encouraged. You don't want a scenario like that and have it just be deadpan commentary. I
That
had
is
this
right.
discussion 10 years ago on the APB World Tour. You know, if it's not professional for me to be emotional about something that's going down at one of our events, then I'm not doing my job.
Hmm.
So,
I think I remember some of the higher ups were asking us to tone it down and not to be too emotional, but it's like, wait a second, that's part of it.
you want detached commentary, you know, go watch like NBC or ABC Sports.
Yep. Bowling.
This is bodyboarding. You
Yep.
know, we're supposed, yes, we're commentators and there's a certain level of professionalism that needs to be maintained. But for me, that usually goes along the lines of rule number one, don't curse. during the live webcast. You know, off camera, you can cuss like a sailor for all I care. Hell, I do. You
Yep.
know, and it's not a podcast. You know, too, you don't want to do dumb shit like the WSL had years ago where guys are drinking beer on air. You know, nothing against the Aussies and the Shark Island Challenge. That was awesome and it was perfect since one of the sponsors was a beer company, a brewery. But you know, when it's like a world tour event or something like that where young viewers are going to be watching, you know, I try and keep it kid friendly, but that's just me. But at the same time, if something amazing is going on, whether it's a huge maneuver, a perfect 10, or just, you know, a heartwarming story, I'm going to be jumping out my damn seat.
Exactly.
You've seen it firsthand.
Yep.
So, you know, and now to touch on the men's.
Really quick, big shout out to Where's Harold and AC43 chiming in. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Always appreciate you guys supporting Book Life. All right, so let's get into this. The men's pro pipeline champion, Michael Yancey from Peru.
Oh my goodness.
I know that had to have given you chicken skin, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Like when once I heard he won, I'm like, no freaking way. And I immediately went to go look for one particular video, and it was in the Canary Islands where this young kid who I can tell had the little glimmer in his eyes of like he, you see it. Tanner had it, Botha had it, um, uh, Alexandra Rinder had it. All these young bodybuilders just had something else,
They've
and you
got
can
that
see
glint
it.
in their eye.
You can
Yep,
see it,
that spark.
and people had it. Um, and when I was in the Canary Islands, I brought over the fist that we paint gold for the Golden Boom, and there was this meeting in a house somewhere in the around the corner from where the event was being held, and he was there, and I brought the two gloves and I gave him the spray paint cans. I'm like, here, spray paint the Golden Booms. And when he was done, he was looking at him as if, fuck, I want a Golden Boom on live. And I can tell he wanted something. He wanted more. And here we are, 6 years later. Holy crap. It was insane. And I did find the video and I posted it on the Instagram on my Instagram. And okay, I average maybe 200 or so. A little bit more than that per post, but this one, I'm looking it up right now. This one of him just talking uh, about, his about painting them. It's almost at 15,000 views, and I think that might be the most I've ever had on any post. And I think what happened was people wanted that underdog to come up out on top, and people did it.
Well, think about this, and a lot of people know this. For years, when it comes to South American bodyboarding, the talk is always about Brazil and Chile, and Peru is kind of the underdog. And I, they have a tremendous amount of wave riding talent in that country. And it was only a matter of time before they had a breakout moment. And I feel like this is a true breakout moment, not just because Michael won the men's, but the junior women's, Hannah Saavedra from Peru won. So the Peruvians came out and planted their flag at Pipeline this year. I
Yep.
can't wait to see what the future holds.
I'm pretty excited. And when these two head back to Peru, I guarantee they're going to be welcomed as heroes because they put Peru on the map, at one of the most prestigious events in the year. So yeah, I'm very, very proud and very, very stoked for, all of Peru. And they have a legacy. They have been putting out, top bodyboarders from day one. Boris Salas, he graced the cover of Bodyboarding magazine back in the day in the, gosh, maybe early 90s. This 16, 17-year-old kid just throwing himself over the ledge at like 20-foot YMA on the outside. I mean, that's when I first noticed that Peru was a hotbed for, talent. And, fast forward 40 years, here we are with the legacy still moving forward.
Well, I we're talking about Peru. But I don't want to forget to mention Cesar Bauer,
Exactly.
drop knee world champion. He was kind of a forebearer for Peru. He was someone who kind of opened some eyes. It's like, all right, Peru's got some talent. Here's a
Yeah.
guy who's drop knee world champion. But yeah, seeing what the younger generation of Peruvians has to offer out in the lineup, I think they served notice this weekend, this week.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, and all the competitors had to ride the same conditions, the same waves at pipe. And I looked at the final, and there's Jeff Hubbard, there's Dave Hubbard, and who was our fourth rider in that heat in the final?
Oh,
Oh man, it was somebody just as big. But
it was a
here
stacked final.
it was a stacked final. Let's, you know what? We got time. Let's look it up. I'm right here on the gram. So I will look up
My
the
apologies. I usually have the finalists all written down. I'm
yeah.
slacking today. I barely had time to get home from work. I got stuck in traffic. I got
Oh
home,
damn.
wolfed down some dinner, and jumped on my computer.
Yeah. I mean, I knew you were going to be rushing, but oh, you know what? I'm on the gram and I'm just looking at some of the things they had going on, but um there the this one right here. Let's see. Oh man. This video camera, I think, is on its way out. But being able to see guys like Robin Legos freaking dominating Andre Botha, just being, on site, stoked with everybody, uh, for everybody. Here we go. I got the finals, the juniors. Sorry, guys. I really want to get that fourth person just to make sure
If you
that,
want to see the heat progressions, be sure to go to liveheats.com. You can see the full draw for each division.
yeah. Dang it. All right. If you guys are watching, where's Harold AC43? Who is that fourth person in that final? I'm pretty upset. I don't know who that is, and I can't find it. I'm not going to waste any more time.
Uh,
Let's see if you can find it. While you're looking, I do want to give props to Nuno, the webcast producer. He I worked with him for a couple years in Panama, and he's like, to me, one of the most incredible problem solvers, because anytime, as you know, putting together a webcast of a live bodyboarding event can just run into issue after issue after issue. And for him to make it look like there was no issues was amazing. So props to Nuno and the commentators. I got to give, props to the commentators. Who do you got?
the fourth rider in that final was Mac Crilly.
Okay, so there it is. So Mac, the two Hubbard brothers were in the final with the young gun people, and for the young Peruvian to come out on top was pretty epic. Because Mac, he's due,
Yeah.
he's due for a win, a big win, and it's going to become sooner than later. Um, Rob just chimed in. Glad to have you, buddy. But Jackson, the commentators, Dave, obviously the anchor holding it down, but I got to give props to Carol Phillips, who's been bringing so much history to the webcast. Every time she was on the webcast, I was so stoked to be able to hear the history that she was laying down, not only about bodyboarding, but about pipeline, the event, the riders. I loved having her on the mic.
You beat me to the punch on that one.
Ah,
Because one of my favorite parts about watching the webcast was some of the commentary. Tracy Effinger and Carol Phillips on the mic for the women's heat. I
amazing.
truly enjoyed watching them both and listening to them. My highlight, though, for the event was actually the commentary of Dave Hubbard and Davin Alexander. It was entertaining, it was educational, and it was pure aloha through and through.
100%. Yeah, they all did amazing. Davin with his, Hawaiian. I love that he brings that to the forefront because, they have history and they
You're
could,
in Hawaii, you're at Pipeline. Part of respecting the locals and respecting the culture is learning about the culture
yeah,
and the official language. You know, a lot of people play the tourist and just show up in Hawaii full on haole mode. They don't speak a lick. They butcher the pigeon. I've done that myself. I'm guilty of that. Yeah, East Coaster trying to talk pigeon, not a pretty sight. But to have a Hawaiian, so positively and enthusiastically speak the language and explain the language, that was brilliant to have
yeah,
him on. That turned into something more than you ever would have expected from bodyboarding commentary. So
yeah,
I was engrossed. It was the end of day one, and there was action out in the water. But honestly, I couldn't peel away from Dave and Davin.
yeah, yeah. Props to all the commentators that held it down. It was pretty awesome. But man, Carol, when she was on, I was pretty stoked on the
And
history she was bringing.
I will say I also enjoyed listening to Tanner McDaniel and Mike Stewart in the commentary booth because
Yeah.
the chemistry, the dynamic between those two, you know, it's more than just board sponsor and rider. It's mentor, apprentice. There's a vibe there between those two that you can't help but feed off of.
Yeah, and I loved seeing Mike doing some interviews. I didn't hear them, but I saw a photo of Mike interviewing, Michael People, and that just like blew my mind. Here's, the legend himself interviewing the next generation is that was very cool.
And there's something else that stood out to me that I really liked hearing. The community service of the visiting riders. To me, this should be a no-brainer. Volunteer work, helping, contributing to the community that's inviting you in and allowing you to experience their island, experience their waves, and learn about their culture. You know, it doesn't matter where in the world you are, you know, it's not going to kill you to jump
Yeah,
in and lend a helping hand.
exactly. They're doing awesome things each year. They're stepping it up a notch, and it's pretty insane. I'm going to do whatever I can to be a part of it next year. So I'll be reaching out to them and saying, "Hey, I would love to get there. So what's it going to take?" Um, I I advise you to do the same because it would be pretty awesome to be a part of it.
Trust me, that hamster wheel's already turning.
Yes, perfect. Yeah. So yeah, what a awesome event. I'm pretty stoked it went the way it did. And it was cool just to see all the imagery. And again, Nuno, who is the person behind the webcast, put it together. Pretty freaking stoked. He was there and he
The
made it happen.
webcast, the scoring updates, the replays on point.
Yeah.
You know, I, I can't say enough. It almost leaves me speechless at points because It was such an enjoyable experience to see that event happen and see it as well run and as positively received as it was.
Yeah. And we both know it takes a lot of money to put something together like this. And I have to give shout outs to all the sponsors and the headline sponsor, Corey Carrera and
Aloha Freight.
Aloha Freight. I mean, this guy is putting back where, he had like putting back into the sport that gave him so much. And for for him to do what he did and doing what he's done and doing what he's doing and using Aloha Freight, a company that, he created to put back into the bodyboarding industry is, kudos, brother. Thank you for doing that.
Think about this. Think about every positive experience in your life that has come as a result of you being a bodyboarder. The least we can do is pay it forward.
Exactly. And
You
on
know,
that note,
by whatever means, possible. It can be something small, it can be something big, but pay it forward.
on that note, somebody who paid it forward for the South African bodyboarders, Michael Van Housteen, will be live interviewed by me tomorrow at 11 o'clock Western Pacific time. So 11 o'clock Los Angeles time. We'll be going live with the interview. So if you are a pipeline patron of Book Life, I'm going to be sending you the link. And if you want to be a part of it, you're more than welcome to be a part of it. But he's one of the first professional bodyboarders that come out of South Africa. And we'll be talking to him live tomorrow at 11 a.m. So I hope
Damn,
you
I'll
guys can
already
make it.
be at work here on the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
Oh well, I'll have to watch it after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So super stoked on that.
all right. Now, this is normally where we would go into the video of the week. I'm going to give you all a homework assignment. Go to YouTube and rewatch the pipe contest. Whatever material they have, along with the actual full webcast, go check that out. So Stoked Boogie Series. Be sure to follow them on Instagram as well, all the socials. And, these guys, deserve a ton of respect and everybody's support. What they're doing in Hawaii with the Hawaiian tour. There's a lot of places in the world, a lot of people in the world that could learn valuable lessons from what they're doing. And one side note that we haven't even touched upon, I love the fact that the divisions were open divisions. You could prone, drop knee,
Mm.
stand up, didn't matter. That you still got scored. And you know what? We saw all three disciplines on display at Pipeline. Didn't need a separate drop knee division, didn't need a stand up boogie division. And it was a lot of fun. I'll be honest, watching stand up boogie at Pipeline, even though it wasn't, massive pipe, it's still a pretty steep drop. And to see somebody negotiate that stand up, that was fun.
Yeah, and because the panel of judges are all bodyboarders, I think Jacob Vandervelde was the head judge, one of the head judges, and
And
Matt
I believe,
Kitchen.
and Pohaku.
Exactly. So all these bodyboarders know how to judge the different criteria. So if you're doing a big maneuver on drop knee or stand up, you're going to get their scale was on point. So that was pretty cool to be allow that and to be judged correctly. So yeah, shout out to the whole judging staff as well.
Judging was something that Carol Phillips touched on, and it made me chuckle because she touched upon the old criteria back in like the 80s and early 90s, and it had me laughing my ass off because for a lot of you, you don't recall that Used to be when bodyboarding got judged, it was a bunch of surfers, and they were judging you on how many maneuvers you could cram into a wave and the length of your ride. Yeah. So, if you had a long ride and didn't do much of jack squat on it, you still got a good score because it was a long ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, which nowadays, like, it's almost unfathomable. Like, really? It's like, dude, you could take off, crank mid face, and blast a massive backflip, and they would have given it like 2 points back in the day. But then again, back in the day, the time frame we're talking about, the backflip didn't even exist in competition.
Which is crazy.
We've come a long way in the last 40 years.
Yes, we have.
So, but anyway, now that we've touched on all of that, I have to say I'm almost exhausted just talking about it again because I'm like it got me all fired up and I feel like I just went for a paddle myself.
All right, let's wrap it up.
All right, so honestly, this week's motivation, I'm wearing it right now. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
I'm stealing one of your quotes, brother. Do epic shit. So, with that said, we'll catch up with you next time around in episode 332. I'm Steve Action Jackson. Ugh. Let me try that again. I'm Steve Action Jackson. He's Manny Vargas. We'll catch you next time. You.
Later, guys.